Hi, my name's Alexis. I talk too much. That's not a good intro. Okay, this is why filming from my phone is maybe not the best idea. So I'm gonna go ahead and start here because I have my notes and I've got a lot to talk about because 2022, let me tell you guys, that was a crazy year for horror and we don't get that very often, you guys. Number 10 on my list is going to be Deadstream. This is a movie I watched last night and it follows a live streamer. It's a found footage film, but it's a more updated version of found footage films, and I really recommend it if you're into horror comedy. The comedy is a little bit more subtle and a lot of it kind of misses the mark or just makes you annoyed at the main character. However, a lot of the comedy is in that live chat and I was just laughing at it the entire time. I like how there's some freshness brought to the found footage genre in this film, and I really recommend it. It's a Shudder original, and I love that Shudder has some original films now, so check it out if you have Shudder. I think it's a fun experience and definitely one of the better found footage films of recent times. Host, I guess, is kind of an updated found footage film, but Zoom was a platform that was used so much in 2020 that I don't think it holds as much relevance now or going forward as something like live streaming would, if that makes sense. Next on my list is going to be Terrifier 2. That's number 9 on my list. Oh my gosh, you guys. Actually, I'm not sure if I want it to be in this place, but I think I have to put it higher than Deadstream because of the amount of visceral and insane gore. Like, what is this movie? This movie tried to top Terrifier and it succeeded. Okay, it succeeded. And I think what I respect about this is a sequel. A lot of people were saying like it's too long, it focuses too much on the characters, and yes, like it is a bit drawn out. However, this movie as a sequel takes the original and improves on it in a technical sense. So any complaints about the original were then met in this movie. The character development and some of the acting is better from our final girl in this movie than the original, where there wasn't as much focus on those characters. There's less cheese, there's higher production value. So anything that was criticized in the original is kind of met in this movie, and I can respect that because a lot of sequels don't even, like, they're just like money grabs and they don't even try and put that effort into creating something better than the first or something that matches up to the first. Is Terrifier 2 better than the first? I don't think so, because the first just has like a certain charm about it, especially being low budget. But I do think that it does a great job in continuing the story and maybe turning this into a franchise, which terrifies me. Next, at number 8, we have The Menu. You guys, I don't know what it is about this movie that I like so much. I feel like it's not going to make people's top 10 list. But The Menu, to me, like, I've been really into horror comedy recently. I think it's because of all the deeply disturbing and dark movies that we got in recent years, like Hereditary and Midsommar. I just go to those movies, but there's so many more. There are so many that are like that, where you just sink into the darkness, and sometimes you don't want a downer. And in 2022, believe me, it's been a rough year. I did not need too many downers. So I am very happy with the horror comedy that we're getting. Original movies with quirks, with twists, with scares still. So not like just complete going down the comedy route, still incorporating horror, but not leaning too far into just the dark aspect of it. So for me, The Menu is just a fun horror comedy where you just have no idea what the point of it even is, honestly, but it's just fun to watch. And so I have to include it on my list because I just enjoyed it. And Anya Taylor-Joy, I liked seeing her as this character. Number 7 for me is going to be The Black Phone. I almost forgot about this movie, which is like, I just forgot about it as I was compiling my favorites list. There's just too many movies that came out in 2022. I love The Black Phone, even though it falls into horror tropes. And it has a little bit of that sinister vibe because same director, and Ethan Hawke, of course, is in both of those movies, Sinister and The Black Phone. But there's just something about it where I just feel like it has more of that, what word am I looking for? I think the connection that you feel to the child characters in this movie makes the whole movie, because certain movies have that, like the 2017 version of It had that. There's a couple more that are like that too, where they just have this heart to them. Let me know if you guys like this. I know this is a little controversial. Some people really liked this movie, a lot of people really did, and other people thought it was too tropey and just like not enough horror in it. However, I thought that the situation that the children were in this movie was already terrifying enough where they didn't need to overload it with the gore, in my opinion. And again, we aren't gonna, did I even mention this? We're not gonna go into any spoilers, obviously, in this video. I just want to rehash the year and talk about my top 10, so you are safe if you have not seen some of these movies. I should have mentioned that a bit earlier. So now we're moving on to number 6, which is Pearl. And Pearl is the sequel to X. And this was amazing because Pearl came out the same year as X, and that usually never happens, but it was filmed at the same time as X, kind of spontaneously. It kind of shows in the movie, like the script could have been a little bit deeper, and I almost feel like the movie would have benefited if they just had waited a little bit longer to release it, like maybe have it be released in 2023. However, I'm not complaining. Mia Goth absolutely kills it and carries the movie. Now, one thing about this movie, and the reason it's lower down on the list for me, well, one thing being that I feel like it could have had a little bit more depth to it. It's a character study, so I can't really complain about it being slow or anything like that. But the trailer, unfortunately, and this is not the fault of the movie, but the trailer, unfortunately, just kind of spoiled it for me because I knew everything that was going to happen, and I knew all of the good parts already, which really ruined my theater experience. I think there were a couple scenes that I didn't see coming, including that ending scene, that long shot. And there was another long shot as well. That was just like 5 minutes of no cut, just Mia Goth's acting that was really good. And I think that those two scenes definitely made the whole movie for me, but I just wish that it hadn't been spoiled, and I didn't do my best to avoid the trailers. They were playing in the theaters, and they were playing in front of YouTube videos as ads and things like that. So unfortunately, that one just, I remembered too much from the trailer, and I couldn't enjoy it, and I wasn't surprised by it as much as I could have been. Well, I said I couldn't enjoy it, but I meant I couldn't enjoy being surprised by it. I still enjoyed the movie, and I love that Pearl is a new iconic character that can sit up there with Freddy and Jason and Michael, and apparently Art the Clown. I guess we're getting a few new characters in recent years that are going to sit up there with the originals, and that's very exciting for me because we don't get that very often in modern horror. Okay, so number 5 is going to be Jordan Peele's Nope, and there's no surprise that this one was going to make the list because Jordan Peele, obviously, this one seems very divisive. When I rank my Jordan Peele films, I rank Get Out, and then I rank Nope, and then Us last, even though I thought Us was scarier than Nope. Nope is just very original, and it's very interesting the way he intertwines different stories thematically. And I found that the conversation surrounding this movie was even more interesting than just watching the movie by itself. And I love movies that are thought-provoking like that, and discussion-provoking or discussion starting, where people want to talk about it afterwards for so many days, and it's not just like you watch the movie, enjoy it, and then it leaves your mind soon after. It's more like you analyze it to a deeper level. I don't mean that in a pretentious way, but it's just fun sometimes to have a movie that has that complexity and that might be a little bit ambiguous in certain ways as well. And a lot of people had different theories. I had a lot of fun reading through all the theories on that. So Nope definitely has to make this list. Seems like it's far down on the list, but it's really not. It's just that 2022 had so much good horror that all the movies on my top 10 list are good movies, and it's just insane with the amount of movies that have come out. So next we have Bones and All at number 4, and Bones and All is based on a book that I did not read. And also this movie came out of left field. I was not excited for this at all. I only heard about it like a couple months before it came out, and I thought it was going to be some kind of romance story that I wouldn't be interested in at all. I had plans to watch it, but I didn't think it was going to be that great, if I'm being honest. But that movie totally blew me away. It was way more than I expected. I saw it in theaters, so that was an experience. And I think it's a movie that deserves to be watched in theaters. It's kind of a slower movie where a lot kind of, rather than everything happening at one time, it's like things happening over a longer length of time, which I think makes it feel slower. I wasn't bored throughout the film, and I didn't feel like there's any parts that were too drawn out that needed to be cut out or anything like that. It's just the nature of the film. It's not a very fast-paced movie, and that's perfectly okay. But this movie was so disturbing, so horrifying and unsettling without even having that many horror scenes or horror elements to it. There were, of course, horror elements, but it wasn't overwhelming, and this film still managed to be quite scary. So that's why Bones and All is so high up on this list. It just kind of came out of the blue, unexpected, and took me for a ride, and that's the type of movie that I really enjoy. Has that fuzzball been on me the whole time? So number 3 on my list is going to be Fresh, and this movie might have been forgotten by a lot of people because it came out quite early in the year, and I think it was only released on Hulu as well. But Fresh is one of those movies where you don't know unless you knew too much about the movie going into it, you don't know where it's going to go at the beginning. It starts off one way and then it kind of just switches on you, and the rest of the movie is a different way. And I find those types of movies, there's another one on this list that's just like that too, but I find these types of movies so fun. I love this element. I think it's becoming more popular in horror right now as well. So I don't want to spoil Fresh because it's very easy to spoil that movie, so I'm not going to talk about too much about what it's about. And I think I'm doing a pretty good job of not really talking about what these movies are about in this list in case you guys have not seen them yet. But Fresh was just pretty much the title. Like, it's a fresh take on this element of horror. It's a really fun film. It gets dark at times, but it never goes over that edge of darkness, and some might complain that there's not enough horror, that it might be lacking, but I don't think so, because given the subject matter, I do not need to see more than what they showed, and that also goes for Bones and All. Okay, so we've made it to my top 2, and based on the movies I haven't talked about yet, I think you guys already might know which movies are my top 2. And this was very hard for me to decide. It's still kind of a tie, but I think I'm going to put Barbarian at number 2 on this list. Barbarian, I watched in theaters twice. Everyone was talking about it. Unfortunately, my viewing experience was just a little bit compromised because I had heard so much. I was so hyped up, and unfortunately a little bit had gotten spoiled for me. And not a lot. It wasn't crazy. I can't complain too much, but it was a little bit spoiled for me, and I couldn't fully 100% just go along with the ride of the movie, which is what I like to do. My curiosity just got the best of me, and I didn't see it right when it came out. I saw it like a week later, so, my curiosity bested me. I looked too much into it. I tried to avoid spoilers best I could, and I overhyped myself for it as well. It's another one of those movies where things keep changing and you cannot predict what's going to happen. That element I love. I also love Tess. Oh, is that spoiling? I almost just spoiled something, so we're not going to talk about this. I don't want to spoil any movies for anybody. If you guys haven't got to movies and you're watching these top 10 lists and top lists to see what movies you want to catch up on, I don't want to ruin that for you. So we're not going to further talk about Barbarian, but oh my gosh, was it a well-executed film, and was it original? We've reached number 1 on this list, and number 1 is X. I'm sure many of you guys have guessed this before, and I could not decide whether I wanted to put this or Barbarian higher up on the list, and honestly, in my head, they're still pretty tied. X was just a little bit scarier for me. Like, it is a shocking movie, it's disturbing, at the same time it's funny, it has heart to it, you're kind of invested in the characters in a weird way, like you wouldn't expect to be, because you would expect these types of characters to be kind of insufferable, but somehow they aren't for the most part, and somehow you can empathize with them. And I think that shows that this movie knows how to balance the comedy with the horror, with the disturbing aspect, with the pacing, with just the characters and everything. I think this movie just does a good job of encompassing all of the elements and just bringing out this theme that actually makes you think. Like, it's very thought-provoking, and it's almost like an existential crisis type of thing, or a dread. I don't know, if you've seen X, maybe you felt the same way watching that as well. So now I want to know what your guys' top 10 of the year are. I'm going to list some honorable mentions in the comment section down below, as well as movies I still have yet to watch. So if I didn't mention a movie in this video, I'm probably going to mention it down below. Go ahead and check out the comment section, and I'd like to hear your guys' opinions on 2022 horror as well, and what you're excited for come 2023. Thanks so much for watching today's video, and I'll see you hopefully soon in the next one.